and then we're muted. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. Starting off with some technical difficulties here and some shenanigans, but
we got it rolling.
Match day 5 is done. Match day 5 is finally in the books, and somebody
Real quick,
chopping block.
I was gonna say, is someone getting sacked?
Henry,
is someone getting sacked for these difficulties that we've been having? Someone getting Laurent Courtois.
Hopefully not.
These difficulties that we've been having.
Damn,
we need nobody to get the boot to get sacked today.
Who's gonna get the sack?
Right.
Restream might have something to say about that.
Right.
What's going on, y'all? How are y'all feeling?
I'm doing all right.
Better than Laurent Courtois.
Well, yeah, for sure. I don't even know what's going on there.
I have thoughts about that later, by the way.
We'll get to that for sure.
When we get to it.
But how's y'all's Monday so far?
Not bad. Not a bad Monday. Better than Laurent Courtois.
For sure.
Much better than Laurent Courtois. Weather's okay. You know, we actually had a night where we stayed in the 50s.
Had some pollen today.
I know, the pollen is out. The yellow storm is upon us. Donnell, what's going on, buddy? So, look, we'll dive right into it. Scarvesandspikes.com. Go check out the website. We have tons of good stuff going up on there. Henry has a really good article in relation to Atlanta United. I know this is the MLS show, but, you know, when you're talking about designated players in the league, there's only a handful of them, and one of those is the point of contention for Atlanta fans right now. So he has a really good article out about one Alexei Miranchuk, and it's a solid one. So go check out the website. I'm not going to get on a rant about the U.S. men's national team today. I promise. I'm going to try my best. I'm maybe not promising, but y'all make sure you liked, subscribed, all that good stuff on YouTube. It does help us out a ton. We really appreciate it. And then patreon.com/scarvesandspikes.
Patrick Algermont scored in the third place match. He's an MLS player.
He is.
Sort of
Diego Luna, unfortunately.
Diego Luna had an assist. He's an MLS player. No, it's no longer MLS coach, guys. It's Laurent Courtois.
Yep. So, Sydney, I know you have thoughts about this. Laurent Courtois, the first axing of 2025 in MLS in the head coaching position. Montreal fired him this morning. How do you feel?
Well, let me ask you guys this before I tell you how I feel. Were you expecting Courtois to be fired before maybe some other coaches that we'll talk about in a little bit?
Porter.
No.
Look, guys.
Weren't we on this show like either last week or a couple weeks ago going like, who do y'all think is going to be the first coach fired this season? And
right.
I think all of us were like, Caleb Porter.
To be fair.
And I think I actually asked the question, how hot is Laurent Courtois' seat? And apparently it was scorching hot, according to Montreal's front office.
To be fair, guys, I kind of felt it was Porter. The thing is, they didn't play on Saturday, so that kind of maybe buy him a little more time. But you have to look at the situation that CF Montreal was in. Yes, they made the playoffs. We can debate whether or not the play-in round or the wildcard round counts as quote-unquote playoffs. We can talk about that all day long if we want. But, guys, 4 matches in a row without a goal. I mean, that's not good. You did bring in Fabian Herbers. You brought in Giacomo Vrioni, who needed a fresh start after time in New England. Brendan Prince-Owosu. Dante Sealy, who I feel like has been a decent signing for them. Luca Petrozzo. You bring in guys like that, presumably to get yourself more goals, especially Herbers, or especially Vrioni and Owusu. You have some injuries, but outside of that, guys, they barely get a sniff. They almost scored against Nashville.
So
Joe
close.
Willis, so close, but Jack Maher cleans it off the line right at the very last second. And that sort of sums up what the start has been for CF Montreal this season. They scored twice against Atlanta United, and that's it. Guys, since then, they have scored as many goals as you, me, and the three of us, I should say, combined.
So did he deserve to go?
Bob. Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, let me backtrack. I didn't think I think he got a. I think it was set up for success. I didn't think he was set up for success during his time. Again, you brought in some pieces in the off season, but all they are pieces, right? They're not the big fish. They're not major players, superstars that you would find in other teams. And I feel like that's just been the norm under Joey Saputo under his ownership. It just doesn't care. He doesn't care to improve this team. He doesn't care to have a solid competitive roster up there in Montreal. Look, they had Wolf and Nancy who worked wonders for the team. He and the ownership didn't get on. He goes to Columbus. What happens? Of course, they win MLS Cup. You look at their DPs. Rioni was their only DP. It's their only DP right now. They decide to go with 4 U22s, 1 or 2 DPs. It just seems like they aren't ambitious. They don't want to win in MLS. They ran off Nancy, who's probably one of their only decent coaches since they entered the league. They can't score. They can't buy a goal over the past 4 matches. Things are just bad. And yeah, as they say, you can't fire the owner. So the coach had to go. So I guess I'm surprised that he's the first. I would have said Porter, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But I guess what do you guys think, Henry Tyler, about
Henry, what do you got? Because I have
opinion?
opinions for sure, but what do you got?
Look, I'm gonna be his advocate here. I think he kind of got shafted. Like, look, it's not a good look when you lose 4 of your first 5 games. Absolutely, like the performances weren't there. However, I think you have to look at it from this angle. Laurent Courtois took Montreal to a squad that was underperforming. He shows up and he takes them into the playoffs. Doesn't have a whole lot of investment. Montreal hasn't really invested in DPs since Drogba, Piatti.
Yeah.
Ever since then, they really haven't had the figure types of players that can really elevate teams. And so, like, in that sense, first of all, you've already started off on the wrong foot there. But then to start the season, their luck has been terrible in terms of injuries. Their big offseason, their one DP, Giacomo Vrioni, hasn't played yet. Right. He's injured. Jalen Neal, an offseason signing who's meant to reinforce that back line, hasn't played at all because he's injured. And the luck gets worse. Yeah. And so when you have that kind of stuff at the beginning of the season, it makes it hard for him to really do anything. And it reminds me a little bit of, 2022 Atlanta United, in the sense of, there were so many injuries to key players that can you really blame the coach for what happened? I mean, maybe knowing what happened later, you might say yes, but I still think he deserved a little bit more time. I think this is a bit of a hasty firing. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it to happen this soon. Again, the results, you could say that because of the results, he might have, deserved that. The performance kind of merited that. But I think they should have given him a little bit more time, let him get the pieces in place and figure that out. Because at this point, you have an assistant coach there. Are you expecting what's their next game? What is their next game?
It's Saturday.
It's Saturday against, let me check. I should have this ready, but I don't.
Chicago.
Yeah. So are you expecting like a major next coach bounce for that game?
Right.
Is that what you want?
Yeah. And real quick, Tyler, before you jump in here, you talk about Henry. Maybe it was too early for Courtois. Maybe you just wait for the injured players to get back. Two schools of thought there. One, the players you play on the field will have to perform, right? So that's one school of that. But the other, Joey Saputo has been traditionally quick to the trigger when it comes to firing coaches and sacking coaches, whether it's CF Montreal, where there's this interest in Serie A, his teams that he owns there. That's just par for the course for him. But at some point, if you want to compete in MLS, you got to put money into the team. You have to show you care. And at this point, Tyler doesn't seem like he does.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the coach is concerned, like I think he has you pulled the trigger way too early. This is it's bound to happen, right? If things keep going that way, you don't have a choice. But also, like, got to look in the mirror a little bit. You have done nothing to make this team better at all. I mean, you made a
Barely.
couple of signings. All right, I get it. Like, they're injured, whatever. But then they're your signings who are then injured. That right there should give your head coach a little bit of leeway, right? Like, the guys that you brought in to make the team better haven't even really had a chance to make an impact yet. So in the offseason, you got rid of a known goal scorer in Joseph Martinez, and the guys that you brought in to kind of help out, again, they haven't had time. So it kind of sets a rough precedent as well for anybody potentially going for that job later on, because
Yeah.
it the message to the coach is, we really don't really care about any other variables besides getting wins. And
Just ask Weldon for Nancy.
exactly. And that's not what this game is about. This game has draws, whether you like it or not. And sometimes draws are good, sometimes draws are bad. But yeah, the team sucks right now. I mean, being honest. But I don't think you can put that fully on Courtois. Like, you have to put some resources into the freaking team. It's just, I think it's way too quick. I think there are other coaches that definitely deserve, and we're about to get to them, that definitely deserve maybe to get the shaft a little earlier than Mr. Courtois did.
And can I add really quickly before we move on? They are on the 2 DP 4U22 model. Okay.
Yeah.
But they have 1 DP.
Yeah.
1 DP. And it's Giacomo Vrioni, a forward who underperformed at his previous MLS club in New England. And that's the reason they traded him away.
New England.
Well, yeah, but
including the coach.
Okay, yes, sure. And we're about to get to that. But we're still talking about a forward. You go get the guy who's supposed to be your franchise player, because the DPs are supposed to be your franchise players, the face of your team, the guys that elevate your team. And you're getting a guy who already failed at one previous club?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like ambition to me. That doesn't seem like you actually want to give your team a chance. And then the coach is kind of painted as a scapegoat as a result, because he can't get the results. First of all, the guy that you brought in is injured. And second of all, I'm not sure what that guy is going to actually give you on the field.
Yeah. So then the question arises, because we're going to get to Montreal's next game here in a second, because I see AU fan asking about, what's more surprising, Montreal sacking their coach this early, or how Chicago's been doing under Berhalter. We'll get to that in a second. But in the meantime, who's next? We're having the same conversation that we did a couple of weeks ago. But Courtois out, whether you like it or not, or whether you agree with it or not. Who's next on the chopping block?
Yeah, if you look at New England's next match, I mean, if we talk about Caleb Porter, they take on the Red Bulls, and by no means, if you look at that, by no means can you consider that a winnable match, really, for the Revs. All those MLS guys, anything can happen. We know that. Dallas takes on, or Sporting Kansas City, they travel to Dallas. Dallas has been struggling early on under Eric Quill. Could that be a match where an unfavorable result sees Peter Vermees maybe getting the sack after so long at that club? Or did he and the club kind of part ways and he stays with the organization in an ambassadorial role or something like that? I don't know. You got to ask questions about DC United. They're not in terrible straits right now. DC aren't. They could be certainly doing better, of course. They're in the 11th place, one win so far, 3 draws. But their next match, DC, they take on Columbus. Not a winnable match for DC either. The results aren't coming together under Troy Lacine in this season. So I would say, and you guys definitely power rank these if you want, I feel like Caleb Porter for sure is on borrowed time when it comes to his role with the Revs. Vermees, I could see leaving on quote unquote his own terms. Troy Lacine, though, if things don't turn around, I mean, I could see a scenario where he isn't around for much longer. You wonder about, I'll throw in another name, guys, and I'll kind of get your thoughts on it. Ben Olsen in Houston. I mean, this team that won Open Cup not long ago, but got to the playoffs last season. Houston did, and we're in 5th. If you can't turn things around here, if you're Houston, who are winless, have 2 points through 5 matches, is there a conversation to be had about Ben Olsen maybe getting the sack in Houston? Probably not, but I mean, you never know. I mean, what do you guys think? Other names that I forgot? Anyone else that may be on the hot seat?
I'll throw in Robin Fraser at Toronto.
I
mean,
disagree.
About to say that.
they have the
too
same
early.
record as Montreal, and a worse goal difference. They've been scoring at least, but the results aren't there for them right now. And so I'm thinking, like, if the bar is, losing 4 of your first 5 games, I mean, Toronto's there already. And yes, they have a mess with their DPs in the sense of, they started the season with, Lorenzo Insigne isn't going to play and all this crap. And, they're trying to move on from him as best as they can. And it just won't happen. And that whole shebang is going on.
Yeah.
But the results, man, the results at the end of the day are what matters.
Yeah.
And through 5 games, they have 1 point.
Yeah, but I don't know if Robin Fraser's going to get fired in 2025. To be honest, I mean, we already need to go in. We already knew going in that's going to be a reboot. New coach. I mean, not a new technical director, but a technical director who really wants to put his imprint on the team. That's been there for a couple of years. So I don't know if Robin Fraser. I don't know if the seat is that hot at this time. I say he gets.
Laurent Courtois was scorching hot.
Well, no, this is the second season though. I mean, he's not coming into a new club.
Yeah, but he also made the playing game last year.
Yeah, I mean that maybe buy him a little more time, but I think with Fraser, I think he's going to be given much more slack.
I don't know.
I wonder how much though.
I don't see it.
Here's the thing about Robin Fraser. Robin Fraser is and I've got nothing against the guy. The dude.
Sure.
I'll give you a fun fact. You want to know what his goal differential is over the course of his entire coaching career?
0.
-60. That's that's rough. You've got nothing to show for your time at Toronto. And now, to be fair, Toronto, like you said, is a bit in shambles as well. So maybe, somebody in charge might give him a little bit more leeway rather than going ahead and executing him, while they're in the middle of a crap show. But
he was a former TFC assistant too, so
yeah, true. But the thing about that is, like, you kind of knew what you were getting into.
Sure.
So anyway, but I think that's a potential, but 100% Caleb Porter. Yeah. I think if another one's going to happen soon, or just in general, like, I think the next one is Caleb Porter. Now, unless they have a massive turnaround. Remember last year when they started off terrible and then they had like a 4-game winning streak and it saved the job for a little bit. I don't think that happens, but they're not playing well. They're struggling, and they've been struggling.
Both Toronto and New England have their next 3 games are a doozy. So let's go over New England. New England, they host the Red Bulls on Saturday. Right. They are away to Cincinnati the week after, and then they come to Atlanta the week after that. A brutal stretch for them.
Yeah.
You look at Toronto, who is, in my opinion, Robin Fraser's in the same boat. But look at these games. They host Vancouver, who until this past weekend was perfect in the league. Then they lost, I think, what was it that they played? They just played Chicago, right. The Greg Berhalter game. Yes. Then they travel to Inter Miami, who is, undefeated, and who knows where that train stops. And then they face a Minnesota that is doing pretty darn well, and we'll talk about that later. Like, my thought is these are 2 of the coaches that for me are most on the hot seat at this time. I don't know if they make it past April, to be honest. This is a tough stretch that both of them have, and if the results don't turn around for their clubs, I think ownership has to make the decision to do something before that damage is kind of irreversible, unless you're going to punt on the season in late April.
Yeah, no, agreed. So those names, certainly are names I'd be watching. I don't know about Frazier. I disagree on Frazier. I think we can all agree Porter is probably most likely to see the sack, but we'll see. We'll see. Again,
I would
like
almost,
Henry said, not a good stretch of games for them.
yeah, I would almost still put Frazier over Vermees, and only because it seems like that man is glued to Sporting Kansas City and
I
will
know.
never ever leave.
Did they
Yeah, I
sign
know.
him to a lifetime contract, like
They
written
may
in
as well
blood or
have.
something?
Yeah.
Like,
But
You
this
can't
is,
fire
you know,
Peter Vermees.
you got to understand too, like it kind of goes back to the first conversation about Courtois. There are factors at play here, and it all depends on whether or not the ownership wants to consider the factors. Because you look at another team in the West right now, you wouldn't fire their coach, but they're second from the bottom, and that's the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, it's different
So,
situation.
exactly.
it's different context, yeah.
Much
But
different situation.
do you think Montreal and Mr. Saputo would have, used that context maybe to make the decision? Because it doesn't seem like it, and they have a track record of kind of making those decisions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors there for sure, but
Yeah.
I do think I think we're all in agreement. Caleb Porter might be the hottest seat of all. So
Yeah.
Probably.
Speaking of hot, in a good context,
freaking Chicago and Greg
they
Berhalter.
are on fire.
This is going to get me. I like it. This is going to get me somehow on a U.S. rant, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But
Watch
Greg
yourself.
Berhalter has now won 3 games in a row with Chicago Fire.
I'm gonna have to eat my crow about Berhalter. I was kind of doubting him, but now
Me too.
they're in good shape to start the season. 3-1-1, 10 points out of a possible 12. So,
And they killed off
10 out of possible 15. I'm sorry, 10 out of possible 15.
Yeah, and they killed off Vancouver's perfect record so far. They were the team to do it.
The Berhalter Derby.
Yeah. I think if we're taking into consideration all the factors like we should when we fire coaches, at least one of those games was pure luck, if we're being honest. One of the wins. That being said, a win is a win. So you got to give them credit where it's due. 3 in a row is amazing. So
they should have 4 wins by this point of the season, if not for a last-second goal by DC United. This could be a 4-win Chicago Fire team. It really could. But not only that, guys, they're scoring goals. 3 against Dallas, 2 against Toronto, 3 against Vancouver, 8 in your past 3 matches. Go back to, you take all the season into account, that's 12 goals this season for the Chicago Fire. That's close to the top of the league. Only Orlando with 13 has more goals than the Chicago Fire at this point. They're getting production from players they need to be getting production from. Hugo Kuipers, 5 goals already in 5 matches. Gutierrez, 2 goals. You need guys like that to perform for your team and put things together. And Kuipers is, of course, the player that you have to look at if you're the Chicago Fire. 10 goals last season, I think he would say, and anybody would say, that he needed much more than that. He was expected to produce more than that on a tremendous run of form to start the year. 5 goals in as many matches. So how far can Hugo Kuipers carry this team? Can Gutierrez, can they get more production out of him? Brady, can he be the player in net that they need him, in goal that they need him to be? Can the defense continue to play at the level that they're playing at? This is a good Fire team. And again, could have 4 wins, if not for a fluky moment at the end of Chicago DC. Surprised. I'm really surprised.
I am too.
At what Greg Berhalter has done. And yeah, this has been a laughingstock of club for years. Yeah. No, this is a laughingstock of a club for years. And now, I mean, they're in good shape. Can they keep it going for the rest of the season? That's a big question. But liking what the Fire are doing thus far to Greg Berhalter.
3 wins in a row, 3 wins on the road, by the way.
Yeah.
It's huge. I mean, we've talked about it a few times. Winning on the road is not easy in MLS. That means a little bit more than some people might think. And I think the fact that they're doing it this early in the season, And you know what? It's not like pushover club. They just went to Vancouver and beat them 3-1. Granted, they were missing some important folks due to international break, but
yeah,
it's still a credit that you were able to go into their house and take 3 points in what was kind of dominant performance. And so also I wanted to shout out former 5-stripe Daniel Rios on the Vancouver consolation goal, which was, by the way, a pretty darn good goal. But yeah, look, Chicago has the stuff. They made some investment over this offseason. They tried to get Neymar, which is incredible, an incredible storyline. But they settled for Jonathan Bamba, and he's been fantastic for them so far. I think he's been productive. And yeah,
they settled for Jonathan Bamba. That's interesting.
You know who else has stepped up for the Fire?
Who?
One Andrew Gutman.
2 goals this season for Gutman.
Yeah.
Wow. Henry,
expect the goals of 0.6 out of that.
To Henry's point about Berhalter and the Fire winning 3 in a row on the road, I don't really think Berhalter's issue is winning on the road when he's U.S. Men's national team coach. I'll just leave it at that. But
was Greg the problem though? We can talk about, but I don't want to spur Tyler into a rant.
Yeah.
So we'll just drop it there. But
like winning at home was an issue for him.
All right.
Oh no, I've triggered him.
It's so frustrating. I don't think Berhalter was the right answer. I think Pochettino's got it. The freaking players got to step up. That was crap. This entire camp was absolute hot garbage.
Greg never lost a Nations League.
I understand that. I understand that. However, do not get grouped in your own freaking World Cup.
I know.
Do not do it. But like, you got to show some more cojones than what you showed in this. You were last place on your home soil in front of 3.5 people in the stadium. That is absolutely pathetic.
Not counting the concession.
There were more people on the field than there were in the stands.
Right. It's shambolic from like the whole level, the top to bottom. It's just there's so many things wrong about this Nations League, from like not just the players definitely. Pochettino's got to get his crap together. Stop pricing people out.
Yeah. Stop
playing important games at like 4:00 in the middle of the week. That's stupid. Anyway.
Back to MLS.
Carry on.
Former U.S. Matchday head coach Greg Berhalter is doing well with the Chicago Fire.
Yes. Good for him. Taking us all by surprise.
Yes.
You know what else took me by surprise?
St. Louis conceding for the first time this year.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that it happened? Or?
I didn't think they'd ever concede a goal this season. Whoa.
Of course, it was when I finally put somebody from their team on my fantasy team.
Oh yeah, you never take those trap games, Tyler. Nope. By the way, I have a tough match against Jackson. That's gonna be wild this week. But anyway, back to MLS stuff.
Right.
The St. Louis conceded a goal and they lost. I believe it was Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, beat the Union, or lost to Union 1-0. Good response for the Union, by the way. After taking their first loss, they're back on track. We joke around, but it was about to happen for St. Louis. Still a good start. 8 points through 5 matches in the season so far, and you're about to score or concede a goal at some point this season. Still nothing to hang your head about if you're St. Louis City under Olaf Melberg. They do take on Austin at home on Saturday, so they could maybe get themselves back in the win column. We'll talk about Austin a little bit later, but they could get themselves back in the win column, if they're able to take care of business at home at City Park, or Energizer Park, I should say. But for the Union, good response. Took their first loss in match day 4, get right back at it in match day 5, ahead of a big match against the Philadelphia Union coming up on the road. By the way, that St. Louis match is on Sunday, not Saturday, but still, the Union have to travel to Fort Lauderdale, take on Inter Miami, and a good showing for them
You gotta
against
you
a
gotta
10-man
give
St. Louis team.
you gotta give lots of credit to St. Louis still, though. I mean, they lost 1-0, away. Had a red card in the match.
Yep.
The one goal came in the 8th minute, right? And then
Yeah.
is it Edward Lowen? Yeah, Edward Lowen gets a red
There,
card in
yeah.
the 4th minute, or no, 66th minute. Sorry, getting my times off. But they essentially play half the game down a man, and still are able to keep Philly out of the back of the net. And Philly was banging in some shots, and they just weren't able to snag another. And to be fair, St. Louis didn't do anything on the attack either, even before the red card. Obviously, after the red card, it just gets that much harder. But I think you still got to give a lot of credit to St. Louis for how disciplined they remained, and things didn't go their way, but they were still able to give a pretty good showing. So they, like you said, Sydney, they have no reason to hang their head over it. It is what it is. It's tough on the road, but you still held the number 1 team right now in the league to 1 goal while you had a red card.
And credit to Ben Lint, too. 7 saves. Philly had 8 shots on target. Lint made 7 saves in relief with Roman Burki, who didn't play in this one. But tremendous in goal. Of course, he makes one mistake on the goal to Glavinovic, but a tremendous performance from Lint. And, of course, Burke, we all know about him. One of the best keepers in MLS on his day. You've Lint stepping in and doing a tremendous job in relief. This could have been, guys, maybe 3-0 or something like that. But credit to him coming up, backup keeper, and keeping the damage relatively light, especially after Lervin was sent off. So shout out to Ben Lint. Sort of the footnote in the loss for St. Louis.
Yeah.
Now, this St. Louis side, they've conceded 1 goal through 5 games. They have 2 wins, a loss, and 2 draws. They are 11th in the Supporters' Shield standings with 8 points. My question to y'all is, they play a very defensive style, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've gone over it. It's very kind of park the bus and kind of try to jump forward whenever you get the chance. Is this going to be sustainable throughout the season? Do you guys think that they can keep that going and make the playoffs based on that style?
Yes.
You can make it.
I think I just got to say, like, I think they're a team. I think it was last week that I talked about this. You have teams that like the idea of parking the bus, and you have teams that actually can park the bus, and that's their play style. You don't park the bus if you're not the type of team that knows how to. It's a strategy, just like anything else, and you have to know how to do it properly for it to be successful. And St. Louis is showing the discipline that you have to be able to do it. They need to be more clinical on the counter, because if you're parking the bus, then your attacking strategy is you're hitting on counters and transition moments. They did it really well against LA Galaxy a couple of weeks ago. That was obviously one of their better showings. I think with the playoff format the way that it is, they can, even if they were to get tons of draws this season, and I think they'll win more actually, they'll still squeak into the playoffs. And then, defenses win championships. So I'm not saying that they're going to go all the way, but I do think they make the playoffs for sure.
They'll make the playoffs, but I don't think it'll be sustainable in the playoffs. You look at Seattle, barely scored in the regular season, came out to bite them in playoffs. Houston, same situation. Tremendous defensive team in the regular season, couldn't advance in the playoffs too far. So I'm not saying that St. Louis won't make the playoffs. I think ultimately they will. But once they face these more high-powered attacks that the Western Conference has, are they going to be able to withstand that, especially in the postseason? And I just think the answer is no. enough to take nothing away, absolutely nothing away from what they've done or Olaf Melberg so far. I just don't know if that's sustainable in the postseason. I really don't. But shout out to them. Another strong defensive performance. Of course, Glivinovic scores a lone goal, and Lint makes 7 saves. But I just know that's sustainable in the postseason.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So that again was a match that had a red card in it. There were 4 red cards in the entire league this weekend. It was, red getting flashed left and right.
Yeah.
One of those teams that had a red was Charlotte, who beat the crap out of the Quakes.
Controversial red, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Andrew Privet.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a red.
No.
Here we go again with the discussion about what the red was.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be like a weekly segment.
He was going down already when the contact happened. He was falling.
Yeah.
The dude was falling already. That was not a red or a pen for me.
Yeah.
Ultimately cost Charlotte the clean sheet, but they still, guys, like you said, just beat the brakes off the Quakes. So I guess my question is, for the Quakes, is it the same old Quakes? They had international player absences like everybody else. Is it the same old Quakes of past years? I mean, this was a team that was on a red hot start under Bruce Arena. His first few matches, they have kind of just fallen apart a little bit for this team. Is this the same team that we've seen over the past couple of years, or can Bruce get them straightened out? And then for Charlotte, they just keep winning. They just have been just a tremendous team under Dean Smith. I think the big question is, where are they going to take that next step under Dean Smith? They gave it a contract extension, which is more than we could say for the other, 3 or 4 coaches that Charlotte have had in their brief existence. But now they have stability. Now they have a coach that the players really like. The players can really rally around. The fans love Dean Smith out there in North Carolina. By the way, that's a March Madness joke, if you didn't get it. Something about Dean Smith. Guys named Dean Smith in North Carolina that have had success in the Tar Heel State.
If I ever have to move to North Carolina, I might legally change my name to Dean Smith.
Dean Smith. Or Mike Krzyzewski. Look, I mean, he's done a great job. He's done a great job. He's gotten players to buy into his system. He's rallied the fans around him. Again, he got that contract extension. He has the backing of the front office, which David Tepper, we all know about him, one of the more mercurial owners in pro sports right now, has his backing, it looks like, and this team looks like it's going to be good for a while.
I just got to say, because Henry, I want you to talk about either team. The only thing I got to say about this game with the Quakes is we are like 3 weeks away from it. We predicted it in the preseason. Either they were going to be really good or they were going to be really bad. And if they're really bad, that was going to be some of the best entertainment ever. When things stop going San Jose's way with the group of people they have in that locker room, it is going to be must-watch television. They're not there yet, but to your point, can Bruce Arena get them straightened out? And I mean, they're struggling. They're struggling. And so if it continues the way that it has, I want all the cameras and microphones in the locker room. I want to be able to see it all.
Well, Bruce has mellowed out, I heard, since his time in New England.
I'm sure he has. After all the crap that he had to deal with.
That's what I've heard.
Wait till that 5th loss in a row or whatever, and we'll see how mellow he is.
Right. Back to the same old Bruce we all know and love.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're kind of in the mid territory. I feel like a lot of teams are still kind of trying to figure themselves out. And this is a San Jose side that has a lot of new players, and they're trying to get all these guys to work together from their distinct, teams that they were coming from. Bruce Arena brought some of his guys over from New England, and you're combining them with some of these guys that have played in other areas, like Chicho from RSL, Joseph from Montreal, and Joseph wasn't even in this game. They were missing guys from international duty, which isn't necessarily an excuse because Charlotte was also missing some folks, and I'll get to that in a sec. Yeah. But still, I mean, I think they're still figuring themselves out. And if Bruce can figure that out quickly, then I think he can avert a crisis. If not, Joseph isn't a guy that really likes to be in a mid team. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
That was one of the points of contention when he was here.
What gave you that idea, Henry?
Oh yeah, maybe walking into the locker room one day, his last game for Atlanta, and that was a fun time. Literally told us Pineda's over there and Carlos is over there.
Yeah.
And then that was all the last words he spoke to media in Atlanta United. But I'll leave that there for San Jose. Things have to get better. They have to figure their stuff out. Hopefully with some of the guys coming back, they can get that rhythm back. Charlotte. I predicted them to be competitive this season, and they are not disappointing. They're flying. And I know this is an Atlanta show, and people are not going to want me to praise them too much, but I have to give them credit. They've been doing fantastic this season. Yeah. They have a solid back line that, one of the best defenses last season is kind of carrying that over into this season, but they've built a foundation on that to be able to kind of explode forward and run at back lines like they did against Atlanta, like they did against Cincinnati, and like they did again against San Jose. Yeah. That's their game plan. They're doing what Atlanta wants to do with Latela and these folks, which is, just attack with pace. Except they're being much more direct and smart about it. And that's why it's working for them. And it hasn't really for Atlanta. So congrats to them. I mean, it's working. They did it without Ajimang. They did it without Tim Ream, who was away on international duty also. They did it without Leo Bada, who's their starting right winger. And so they have the depth. The depth has proven themselves. I think they're a legit team. I think I might have actually placed them a little lower than they might be. I think they will be one of the top contenders in the Eastern Conference, if not the league, if they keep this up. And I will add one final thing. They got a red card in this game. Yeah. A red card that I said I did not agree with. And despite that, they managed to hold their nerve. Granted, they were up like 3-1 at this point, or they were already up like 4-1.
It was 4-0, but
it was 4-0.
The penalty made it 4-1.
But still, this is a team that knows how to keep leads. And it's not just this game, it's the games before that, where they had the 2-0 over Cincinnati, and they managed to keep that lead. They had the 2-0 over Atlanta. They managed to keep that lead. And when a team knows how to preserve the lead, and they know how to hold the result, that is a team that knows how to win. And I will say this on the Atlanta show. I should be saving this for the Atlanta show. But that's what Atlanta's missing right now is that mentality of being able to hold those results and win the games.
That's the buy-in for the players, and that's your manager really, again, imprinting his style of play onto that team. Top 4, you guys think, when it's all said and done in the regular season for Charlotte? I say yes.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I say yes.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Henry's over there getting a little too nice about Charlotte. But I agree. You got to give him credit. I mean, they're playing their game. And end of the day, that's what soccer's all about. You got to go and exert your game on other teams. And I mean, we'll talk about it Wednesday for sure. When we have Kendra Day St. Aubin on, by the way, there's your tease for Wednesday. So she'll be on with us chatting. But no, I mean, that's kind of the difference to Henry's point. Like, you've got a team that keeps their freaking head screwed on straight for 90 minutes.
Right.
And you have another one that doesn't. And you look at where they're at in the standings. I mean, sometimes I'll go, and I didn't want to bring this up. It's because it's the 5th game of the season. Sometimes I'll go and I'll look at the Supporter Shield standings, and it is humbling. Because if you start looking at it, thinking of it as like a Premier League or any other league in the world kind of viewpoint, you start realizing, like, man, 24th sounds rough. Like, that's where Atlanta's at. And that's not good. That would be like three places out of a relegation battle.
3 places below relegation. So, you're like in the 9th circle of hell.
That's what I'm saying. So, and then you look at Charlotte, who is way higher. They're sitting pretty.
They're in 3rd.
Right.
For now.
I mean, that it's amazing what mentality can do. It is 100% a very valid thing in this game. And yeah, it comes down to you got to keep your head screwed on straight. Charlotte's doing it, and they're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
I'm saying nothing else nice about Charlotte.
don't get us canceled by Lady United fans. By Lady United fans who watch this show or listen to this show.
Well,
what do we got next?
Moving on from Charlotte, those guys. Sunday night soccer.
Sunday afternoon soccer.
Sunday afternoon soccer.
It was Sunday night somewhere. It was Sunday night somewhere.
Yeah. It was Sunday night.
Sunday matinee.
Sunday night soccer sounds better though.
So Austin squeaks out a 2-1 win over San Diego. This game was freaking weird, man. Just off the top of your head, and I don't know if either one of y'all looking at the stats right now, but what do you think Austin's possession was in this game?
60-40 or 65-40?
65-35?
65-35.
What do you think, Henry?
55?
Austin had 24% of the
oh my
24. Oh, okay. Actually,
24%.
Actually, you know what? That makes sense because towards the end, it was San Diego that was really, really gunning, and they were really creating chances. I remember that game.
Yeah.
So actually, that makes sense. Also, shout out Brandon Vasquez, Atlanta United alum. He scored for the first time in an Austin shirt. He's opened his account. Also, John Gallagher scoring for Austin to double the lead 9 minutes later. Another Atlanta United alum.
Before Atlanta United players go, it's Austin.
Yeah, so it's that's a good result for them. And look, Austin, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're second in the West right now with that result. Right? Yes.
For now, yeah.
For now, behind Vancouver. Things are working. Life's good in Austin right now, and it's not perfect. But if this is the start of Brandon Vasquez getting back his scoring form and going back to, we're talking 2022, 2023 Brandon Vasquez, the one that helped Cincinnati win the Supporters' Shield, then Austin is in good shape, and they might have this attack together. This is an Austin, by the way, who had, they didn't have in their starting lineup Mirto Zuni or Osman Bukhari. Bukhari did come in the second half, but those are their other two DPs, and they were able to kind of win this game intelligently, and they held on. And so again, that's against the San Diego side, who, mind you, have a very good attack from what we've seen so far. They've been one of the hottest teams to start the season, and they do get their goal back in the first half, and they have plenty of time to get another one. Austin just didn't let them in. They were asking tons of questions. Austin wasn't giving them answers. And so credit to Austin, credit to Nico Estevez over there. A good start to his time in the Texan capital.
Sort of a redemption project for him, right? After what he did at FC Dallas. And I can get over that possession. Yeah, Estevez is like, if you want the ball, you can have it as long as we're winning.
And Austin had a 2.27 expected goals with 24% possession.
That's insane. But I mean, you said it, Henry. If Estevez can unlock Brandon Vasquez, who is coming over from Mexico who had mixed results there, he can get him unlocked and performing the way he performed in Cincinnati, this team are going to be very, very dangerous. Of course, I have Brett Stuver in goal, and that's pretty much an adventure every time he plays. It's just his style of play. But again, Estevez has them cooking at least early on, and we'll see if it's sustainable. We'll see as they play the better teams in the Western Conference or better teams on their schedule. Are they going to continue to be in the form that they're in right now? So they won't win every match. Every match won't be 24% possession. MLSsoccer.com, guys, by the way, had it 30-70. Were you looking at FOTMAP for that, Tyler?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. MLSsoccer.com had like around 70-30 in favor of San Diego.
I mean, that
doesn't matter.
A lot, though.
If you win, if you win, you win. So
who cares about possession anymore?
Yeah.
You don't need the ball to win.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I look at the way that Austin was playing this game, and I feel like, I mean, this could be the story of any soccer team in the world on any given day, but that game could have totally gotten out of San Diego's control entirely. They kept themselves in it, but that says a lot for a team that had such a little possession and was able to create that much. That's you're doing something right. And if we're speaking about, maybe not former Atlanta United players, but ones related to him, Owen Wolff was man of the match, even higher than the 2 goal scorers for Austin. So
yeah.
he's doing his playmaker thing, so good for him. But I mean, I think it was like for a Sunday afternoon soccer match, it kind of lived up to the billing, though. I kind of thought like, because it felt like San Diego was gunning, because the momentum, and then if you want to look at the stats and all that, you look at the momentum chart, it is all San Diego for almost 90% of the match.
Yeah.
And then you have obviously the 2 goals in the beginning and then one little push at the end for Austin, but Austin's able to do the job. So kind of a fun one from a neutral perspective.
And just real quick before we move on Owen Wolff, you mentioned him, Tyler. Sort of a prove-it kind of year for him. I mean, of course, his dad, Josh Wolff, of course, former head coach, got fired, and now with with RSL, I forget. He's an assistant somewhere. I forget where he is, but no longer the head coach at Austin FC. He now has to play out of his father's shadow. What can he do, and how can he develop out of Josh Wolff's shadow? Sort of the cries of nepotism coming out down there from Austin. He now has a chance to say, no, I'm not just Josh Wolff's son. I'm Owen Wolff. I'm my own player. I'm my own person. So interesting to hear him getting mad at the match. Maybe it's a bit of chip on Owen Wolff's shoulder now to, again, prove himself as a worthy MLS player. So Austin in good shape, 2-1.
All right, so let's jump from there to the Galaxy, who we have discussed as being in shambles, but maybe not as in shambles as the standings show them, because we've said it for weeks, months now. They were going to start off slow. They've got injuries. Gabriel Peck and a couple of others are kind of keeping them alive right now. But last year they had defensive problems, but they were able to make up for it and obviously went and won the cup. But now you don't have that goal production to kind of save yourself. So they draw Minnesota 2-2. What do y'all think?
I mean, if you have Emir Garcia scoring goals for you, you should be in good shape.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll score. Obviously, I don't think he'll score every match. He's a defender. But if you're the Galaxy, I mean, you still have a long way to go. But I feel like you have to be somewhat encouraged by the fact, and maybe Greg Vanney will feel differently than I do, considering who the type of coach he is. Maybe you can feel a little bit encouraged by back-to-back results to get yourselves at least 2 points out of your last 2 matches. Now, if you look at the stats for Minnesota, LA had 4 shots on goal. Minnesota had 9. So this could have been a much different match in Minnesota's favor. But if you get Christian Ramirez scoring, I believe that's twice, 2 goals in as many matches for Christian Ramirez. If he can get in good form and show sort of form that he showed to some extent in Columbus and prove, hey, this is why you guys brought me over to LA, this could be a team that could put things together at least somewhat while you wait for Peck and your other key players to come back. They're sort of weathering the storm, and just keeping things together right now after those injuries that we just discussed. But these are 2 results that at least are somewhat encouraging. Ramirez scoring in the 81st to secure a draw against Portland the previous week, and then producing a goal against LA, and ultimately what turns out to be a draw. They leave it late. And again, Garces scoring to make it a 2-2 draw against Minnesota. So I'm a little bit encouraged if I'm an LA fan. I really am. I mean, the pieces of the puzzle obviously aren't all there, but you at least have a pulse, and you can at least hold your head up saying, hey, we at least have a couple of points going to a match against Orlando City, who are coming off overwhelming win against DC United this previous match day, guys.
Yeah, and look, every week you're getting closer to Joseph Paintsel coming back. He has got to be much closer now. You've got a few other guys that are going to start making their way back. And the fact that they were able to go on the road to Minnesota, a Minnesota that is in good form right now. They've got, Kelvin Yeboah had 2 goals in this game, but he has been in great form since he got here last season. And so being able to go up against that team and get the point, even if you weren't necessarily dominating the game, it's a good sign that you had kind of the fortitude to get through that. And sure, like that last goal, it was a little bit of chaos in the box. But Garces in the end just kind of, hits it and it goes straight to the bottom corner. Nothing the goalkeeper can do, sees about it.
Yeah.
You got to win games somehow. And so they found a way to win that game, or not win the game, but, take a point home from
Feels like
a
a win.
game. Yeah, for them, it's a draw that feels like a win. And so we'll see how they do going forward. But I think things will start getting better for them. You start getting some of these players back, suddenly things don't look as dire.
Yeah.
And then, Ricky Puig is slowly also making his way back. You're going to have to wait until after the summer for him to be back. But
Right.
if you could set a good foundation for kind of weather the storm, like you said, until he can actually return to the squad, then Galaxy, maybe it's not as bad as things seem right now.
So maybe the stars are going to be shining bright in Galaxy Land before too long after the summer.
Your puns are just out of
You
this
guys
world.
laughing at my jokes?
I'll give it a 6.
Out of this world.
It was a solid 6.
Hoping you guys can laugh at my jokes so I don't feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
I gave you a 6.
I did like that out of this world that you guys dropped it. Well done. So effortless with it too.
I practice.
No, I mean, I think I've said it, kind of from the get-go. We all have, honestly. I mean, like, we knew that they were going to start off slow, but they've got the talent coming back to make a run at the end of the season. And what is MLS? The end of the season and the playoffs. So, as long as you don't bury yourself, like absolutely bury yourself, and you can't do that 5 weeks into the season, they can make a run. What's that?
Unless you're TFC.
Yeah.
Or New England.
But I think they're going to be all right. And it is, it does feel like you got something out of it, which is good. So, all right, which brings us to match day 6. We are in the beginning of the week for match day 6. It is slowly getting closer. So I guess, Sydney, starting with you, what is your match to watch?
Oh, Miami, Philly, all the way. I mean, in Fort Lauderdale, you have Miami unbeaten so far in the MLS season. You have Philadelphia bouncing back from their first loss of the season with a victory over St. Louis, game where they could have possibly scored at least 3 or more goals. So they're at the top of the table, the Supporter Shield table at this point, or tied for the top of the Supporter Shield table with Vancouver. Miami will be looking to silence them and hand them their second loss while trying to avoid their first loss of the season. So one of the really matches of the year, at least in the early going in MLS. And it's going to be quite a firecracker. I think there'll be a lot of goals in this on both sides of the pitch. So if you're a defender or a keeper, I don't know if this is going to be the match for you, but I'm going to say Philadelphia or Miami, Philadelphia is my match to watch for match day 6.
I like it. Henry, what you got?
Yeah, mine has to be San Diego versus LAFC. Look, it's 2 teams that are atop the Western Conference. LAFC is currently 3rd with 9 points, and San Diego is 4th with 8 points. And it's 2 teams that know how to score goals. And it's an LAFC team that I think has something to prove, in the sense of they want to prove that they can still be the top dogs in the West, that they can still compete and be perennial contenders. I think that's kind of been a little bit clouded in doubt, given, they the questions have come of whether they can keep their attacking momentum going throughout the season. What's going on with Olivier Giroud is a question that I have. How does the depth change things for that team? And then San Diego is a team that has come into the league despite expectations and shown that they're here to party. They're here to score goals and play some fun soccer. I think this game has goals written all over it. I'm anticipating, lots of fun in that one. It's a late night Saturday game, so heading home from the stadium, that's one that I'll see when I get home, hopefully.
Yeah, you take the over on 2.5 goals.
Smash the over. My mortgage on the over.
So that was actually my first pick for mine. Yep, to be fair, I think y'all both picked very, very good ones. So the other one, mine will be the opener again for the weekend, which is the Red Bulls versus New England. For a lot of the reasons we have talked about.
Interesting.
Caleb Porter, this might be his death knell, as it were. You also have New England coming off some time, right? So they got a little bit of rest. Red Bulls have had they're sitting in 7th right now. I mean, they've had a couple draws. They're just coming off of a win. But I mean, the Red Bulls, they're a good team and they're an aggressive team. And I just don't know that New England is going to be able to handle the type of play that that Red Bulls are gonna come with. So I think that one has the potential to get out of control. So as a neutral, I think it's going to be a fun one. I feel like every week we've also had to say this because we can't pick Atlanta, but this is the Ronnie Dalla Derby, so it's worth watching. This is New York City and Atlanta.
NYCFC.
Gotta check it out because this will be Dalla's first moment back now playing against his former club that he won MLS Cup with. So
yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts? Anything?
I've got nothing.
Covered it all.
Yeah, same. I think we hit on everything.
Sweet. Y'all again go visit scarvesandspikes.com. We got lots of good stuff going up over there. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. We truly appreciate it. It helps us out a ton.
Yeah.
Again, website, Henry's got a really good article up about Alexei Miranchuk and maybe changing some things up a little bit. So really good read. Go check that out. And go join the patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. We did our first watch along of the season for the game this past Saturday. It was a good time. We had a lot of new people there. We had a lot of fun. And go check out the store on the website. Click on the store option up at the top in the menu. Go get you a coffee cup or a beer glass or shirts, hats, hoodies, whatever. And yeah.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. Give this show and our Wednesday show, of course, our new Met reaction show that we do every week, the day or so after every Atlanta United match. You can get that all, as well as our 3 takeaways from every match. We didn't do one for the match against Cincinnati, but we'll be back at it this weekend against NYC.
We were slacking on that one.
No, you're fine. It
was a weird day.
Yeah.
It was a really weird day.
No, but we appreciate you guys for watching, listening, and tracking along with us. We are grateful for you. I was gratefully. We are greatly appreciative. We are greatly appreciative.
You'll get there.
Of your
Thanks,
support.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you for watching and listening. We appreciate it. Just ignore me. I'm just gonna
play the music.
Use as many words as I can.
Of y'all hanging out with us week in and week out, day in and day out at this point, it seems like.
Yeah.
Which is great. Staying busy. Now, hash browns. I can't deal with this with Tommy and his freaking hash brown anymore.
Does he need an intervention?
Plain hash browns.
I know.
He went to a Waffle House and again ordered plain hash browns.
Can you even eat hash browns? Are they even edible if they're plain?
I mean, at Waffle House, they are just by nature of the grease. But, like, that's the only way.
Someone has to teach him.
I mean, throw some hot sauce on it or something,
Ridiculous.
man.
We got to take him to Waffle House
Idiot.
after the games and teach him.
Show what a real
Yeah, I was trying to do that
hash brown order
at
is.
this one.
Show what a real hash brown order is.
Yeah, dude. The thing is, it's not hard. Throw a dart at the menu and whatever you hit, put it on the hash.
Yeah.
No, Bruno, not even cheese. It's plain. It's straight potatoes.
Straight potatoes.
It's poor. It's poor. Whatever. Kendra Day St. Albans, Wednesday. Coming to hang out with us. Y'all be there. 7 o'clock.
Nice. Can't wait.
Maybe she has a hash brown order. I'm gonna ask her.
Maybe she'll call from the salon again.
No, that was Kayla.
Oh, that was Kaylin?
She will be calling from her car while taking her daughter to soccer practice. So that I can tell you.